tonight is going to be a little bit different than, I think, forums that you've been to in the past. It's a 2-hour forum, but we're going to break it into 2-hour blocks. We're going to have, the first hour is going to be stories from people who have been directly impacted by addiction and by the opioid epidemic. And we're going to have people who are in contact with them, and we're hoping to get a variety from both family members and family and people who have been addicted, plus youth, and plus people who are working on the prevention side, and some law enforcement people. So they're going to tell their stories, and then we're going to do a question and answer. So we passed out cards, and I hope you all got cards, and we're going to put the questions on the cards so that we can read them out. If you didn't get a card, we'll have someone go around and pass. Brandy's going around right now and passing out more cards, because we'd like to be able to take your questions and address them to the panel. So after we finish the question and answers, we're going to do a different thing. We're going to do what we're calling pitches, where we have 14 or 15 different agencies that are going to come up, and they're going to give you a pitch about their local agencies, what they're doing in the community to help with this crisis, and what you can do to help them. Because that's one of our main things we want to work on tonight, is not so much telling you what it is, but enlisting your help in fixing it. So I hope that you'll listen and think about this as, well, what can I do? Because I think everyone in this audience can make a change. And this is such a huge problem that I don't think we can make a change without everyone in this audience. And I hope that you'll think about this. We passed out some papers in the beginning about things that you can do, but we tried to pick the least little step that a person could take, so that when you walk out and you go home and you're thinking about, wow, this is really a big problem, what can I do to fix it? We have some suggestions for you. And and again, that's a little bit different than what we have done in the past, as far as we're probably not going to talk about the addiction itself or the drugs or the mechanisms of addiction, but we're going to talk about what we can do to fix it. Because really, one of the things I've learned in my couple months of working on this is that it's such a complex problem that most people are overwhelmed before they even get halfway there. And what we're trying to do is say, it's all right to be overwhelmed, but pick one thing and do it. So that's going to be the information piece. And then when you leave tonight, we're going to have people at tables from the different agencies that you're going to hear. And I'm hoping that you will think about signing up, giving them your name, being contacted by them, and either volunteering or working with them or doing something so that you can help this community. I mean, it's a community crisis, and from my point of view, it's not going to be solved by some outside entity. The police force is working hard at it, but they can't solve it. The government can't solve it. You can go through the medical profession, they're not going to solve it. It's going to be solved in communities by people like you. All right. And then finally, we're going to finish with a candlelight vigil to try to remember the people that have passed. So the reason I'm here is just before Christmas, I met a man, Richard Carrier. And first I knew his wife, Amy, and we'd worked together for years. And she came and said, well, you know, can you talk to my husband? He really wants to do something. And I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And we had originally thought about, I do some stuff on Fact TV, and we would do like, you know, a half-hour TV show, and we'd talk about it, and we'd see what happened. And then I sat down, what? Well, Brandy is very good. She's giving me the, get out of here, drag me off the thing. But anyway, I met Richard. I met Richard. And afterwards, I couldn't walk away. I realized that I'm part of the problem, that I wasn't doing anything. I'd become callous to this whole epidemic that's happening around us, the deaths that happen around us. And so I'm here to help. I'm here because Richard came to me and said, we need to tell this story. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to tell the story, and we're going to ask people to help. And I hope you can become as engaged as I have. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce Mike Johnson. He's from the Turning Point Recovery Center. He's going to start to talk a little bit more about what this really is. And I'll move on. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm grateful and honored to be here tonight. My name is Mike Johnson. I'm the director of Turning Point, and I'm also a person in long-term recovery. And what that means, I haven't had a drink or a drug since December 11th, 2009. And, you know, this is, what we're talking about tonight is the things that we see and work with every day. And I was honored to sit down and meet with Richard myself, too. Mike had called me, and I came down, and, you know, it's something I hadn't heard before, but it's something that really stuck out to me because, you know, one of the things I find that's happening quite often is that it's started to become the normal that we don't talk about it anymore. And, you know, unless something happens, we're not talking about what's going on. And for me, that wasn't something it's not acceptable to me, and there's more that can be done. And a lot of it, it's not what, like Mike was saying, it's not in any individual group or any individual person, or agency or anything like that. It's the community itself. And every community has that obligation to their own folks too. There's a lot of things that can be helped and served with people in addiction. One way of learning about it is getting some education about those things and checking out those centers and agencies and organizations that could use some support. I mean, there's lots of things that people could do. There's issues with housing and childcare and jobs and what that entails, and there's a lot of different pieces to that. I mean, I could go on and on about that, but I'm not going to right now. But there's an opportunity for everybody to have a piece in the change in the communities and in this community. I mean, I'm grateful for the agencies that Greater Falls Connection and prevention coalitions and stuff down here that have been supportive of us, and we've been coming down and working with them for a while. And, you know, we get a small grant to help bring recovery services to this community, and I hope to continue that. And, well, we will continue it one way or the other because it's needed, and it's something that it's part of who we are and what we do, giving back. And so listen to what things are said. Find it in your heart to look at, see, there's something that everybody could do to help their community. There is one thing, a kind word to somebody. You know, we don't even do that anymore. We isolate, you know, and we are a community, and it doesn't seem that way, but we can bring that back again if we all work at it together as a whole. So, I spent some time with Richard, and Richard and I spent some time in the State House. We went up there and spoke up there together, and, you know, I've met him a few times, but I've gotten to know him pretty good, and I understand where he comes from, and it's difficult, but he wants to give back and make a difference, and you know, before the next happens to the next person, maybe we could do something to save somebody else's life. We can save a life today. We made progress. So with that, I'd like to introduce Richard, and you know, and listen to his story and what he has to say, and please step up and check out the stuff that people can do, okay? And thank you for listening.
Wow. Hey, listen, I want to say thanks to everybody for coming out tonight, and especially thanks to the wonderful group of people that kind of somehow got me involved in this. As some of you know, or a lot of you know, on November 16th, 2017, my family, our family, lost a daughter, a stepdaughter, a granddaughter, and it was pretty overwhelming. And at first, you're really numb, and you're not real sure how to handle it. And that Saturday, I was headed to the recycling center because I just had to get out of the house. A lot of family had been showing up. A lot of people had been around. And for just a moment, I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I had to get out of the house. When I took off and I was coming home from the recycling center, and my son from Kentucky had called me, and I couldn't even talk. So I had to pull over. I pulled down next to the river, and I said to myself, Jesus, what could I have done? Or what should I have done? I mean, you question yourselves as a parent, and it's frightening that there's no answers out there. And then I realized the question that I should ask myself is, what am I going to do now? And here I am. This is what I'm going to do now. And with the help of a lot of incredible people, I just had to make a difference. Through the process, you get involved. The first few days of everything, we buried Brandy, we had her funeral, and I spoke at her graveside. And I looked at a lot of people out there, and some of them I think are sitting here today. And I asked them that day to please go home, take a look at yourself in the mirror, and ask yourselves, what are you going to do? Are you going to fix yourselves? Are you going to take care of yourselves? Are you going to make a change in your life? Please go home and do something instead of what we have been doing. I brought some young people up to the police station in Springfield and sat with them. My brother and my sister were gracious enough to help my wife and I through the investigation part of that. And I started to see names come together. And it was a lot of names. And I started to realize that a lot more people than I knew were involved. I was seeing names of children, adult children, of people that I grew up with. Some of you were sitting out here. And it frightened me, because what I realized is that none of us were talking to each other. For all of the wrong reasons, we built walls around ourselves. We closed ourselves off because we were embarrassed, we were frightened, we felt guilty, but we shut ourselves off from the people in our community, from our own family members, and we became islands. We quarantined ourselves from everybody we loved. And that frightened me more than anything. That feeling that, wow, what have we done, or what we allowed to happen? You learn things. I learned a lot. Brandy and I got a lot closer to each other in the last couple of years. I spent time with her in rehab facilities. We had a lot of conversations. I actually learned more from Brandy in the last 2 years of our life, especially the last few months of her battle, than I had learned at any time before. The most important thing I learned from Brandy is that she hated her addiction more than anything else in this world. She hated it. She despised it. But she couldn't control it. She lost her battle. She passed away on Thursday. That Monday, her and I were sitting on the living room couch when we were watching a video together, an addiction video, and we were having a conversation. And I looked into Brandy's eyes, and I saw something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. As a parent, you get mad at certain things. You want to kick your kid in the ass. And as a parent, you love certain things. There's times for a hug. There's times for a stern talking to. There was always a target in my children's life. My wife and I have 8 children, 12 grandchildren. 3 of our children have battled opioid addiction terribly, and Brandy lost. Sitting there having that conversation one night with Brandy, I looked into her eyes, and I couldn't describe what I saw. I can't. I don't know. I've used the word haunted. I've used the word frightened. It was way more than that. I saw something in Brandy that no matter what I said, no hug, no discipline, no amount of love, no amount of recovery, rehabilitation was going to fix what I saw in her eyes. Her soul had been affected, and I saw that. And no parent should have to look into their child's eyes and see their soul affected that way. No parent should ever have to do that. And I saw that, and I felt helpless. If all of you here today never have to look into your children's eyes and see that, then at least I've done something, because it's awful. Also, what I realized is that the real victim in all of this is that little girl right there. So we leave, through all of it, the true victim is the children that are affected by this. I became pretty angry. Brandy and I had a conversation, and she said to me, she told her counselors at the Phoenix House in Dublin that I was her knight in shining armor. Her and I had a conversation, and she said, Richard, the thing that concerns me is that you seem so angry, that you're so mad. And I told Brandy, I'm going to be mad at this for the rest of my life. And I will, because I watched how it affect my granddaughter. I watched how it would affect my wife. I watched how it would affect my mother-in-law and my mom and my family. And I will remain angry every day for the rest of my life at this. And why? Because I don't think that we've done enough. I've heard a lot of terminologies and stuff through all of this. And we have to prevent that feeling that Brandy had, that lost, that whatever it was, we have to prevent that from happening to other families. You can't hug it away. You can't yell it away. All you can do is try to stop it from happening to somebody else. One of the things that I've learned that from my children, my stepson Dylan sitting here who's battling his addiction, my son Michael's battling his addiction, and I learned it from Brandy, is that they took responsibility for the decision they had made in their life. They made a terrible decision 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever they made that decision. And they understood that it was their decision and that they are responsible for that. And that responsibility is what we have to, as family members, hold ourselves to and hold our family members to. We have to hold them responsible. We have to be stronger. We have to be tougher. We have to be more demanding. And we have to stand together. We have to do that. Brandy, her loss, we had long conversations. Some of the things that she did, some of the things that she had seen, some of the places that she has been, and what she had seen happen to other people was the reason for that I saw her in her eyes. She was subjected herself. She was involved in things that she never would have dreamed that she could be involved in. She had done things she never could have dreamed that she would have done. And that is what Brandy was having to experience the last few days of her life. So, what do? We have to come together. We have to stand up. We can't have 5-year-old children without their moms. No child should ever be without their mother. No child. We can't just sit back and not do anything. Through everything, I realized that everybody has a different opinion. Everybody has a different viewpoint on this. Everybody feels differently about it. Some people believe in certain ways of rehabilitation. Everybody believes there's a different road. And the thing that scares me about this is that we all try to do this differently. We're all traveling in different directions, and we're all not going together. I don't care how you feel. I don't care what you believe. I don't care how you feel about the law enforcement part of this. I don't care about how you feel about the rehabilitation part of this. I am telling you that together we have to go in the same direction. So We agree to disagree at times, but we have to move together. We have to stand together. We have to prevent this from happening to a lot of other families out there. It's frightening. 2015, 54,000 people died of an overdose in this country. 2016, 63,000 people died in this country. That's 100 and something thousand people in 2 years. Good Lord, that's a city. And nobody is making much of a change. Things aren't happening. I was so concerned dealing with the law enforcement community that the way that I've had in the last few years. I'm so concerned that how the outlook that I get on that. We have to start supporting our law enforcement agencies. We have to start supporting better our rehabilitation and recovery agencies. If you're going to do anything today, decide on doing something that is going to benefit the people that this has involved. You have to prevent this from happening to more people. There's representatives from different state houses from Vermont and New Hampshire. Patricia Klee, a wonderful lady that my brother and I met on New Year's Eve over in Nashua, sits on one of the seats. Lucy Webb's here tonight. Her and I were talking, and she sent me today, she sent me a web attachment, and on there it said, the headline was, America is turning the corner on the opioid battle. 14 states, the death toll has gone down. And I started looking at that, and it was 1%, you know, the 14 states, it was all single digits. The state that you're sitting in today went up in deaths in the last year, 26.4% in this state. New Hampshire went up also. The increases of deaths in these states, our communities, is unacceptable. That young lady, that little 5-year-old girl, is going to spend the rest of her life without her mother because we have not stood together. I was talking to you about building walls. I grew up here. I grew up in Bellows Falls. Graduated from Bellows Falls Union High School, grew up on the back Westminster Road. When I was a kid, families were involved. When you got in trouble, you got your ass kicked 3 times before you got home. Your parents knew what you did when you got there. I remember thinking, how the hell did Mom find that out? But they knew. We ate lunches in you ate lunch in a different house every day. Communities took care of you. Villages back then actually raised children. You didn't worry about walking down the street. You didn't worry about me and my brothers would grab our fishing rods, go down to the setbacks and fish all day long. You didn't worry about what time you were getting home or where you were going to eat between here and there because, well, hell, you're going to eat somewhere. I met a young man back here tonight, Brian Bashaw, and I grew up with his family. And I gave a public announcement address not too long ago, and his family was one of the ones that I thought about when I was doing this because we spent time in each other's houses. Those families took care of each other. The thing that scares me the most right now, I grew up here, and I don't recognize this community at all. My 20-year-old daughter sits in the seat right here in front of me, and I don't want her walking in this town by herself at 20 years old. When I was 10 years old, we didn't worry about walking through this town. What does that say about us? What does that say about what we've allowed to happen to our community and our family? What does it say? It says that we've lost. If you haven't believed anything, we have lost. Let's do something about this. Let's stand together. Let's love each other. Let's take care of each other. Do not close your minds to any aspect of this. You see that right there? That little girl, every day, reminds me of that loss, what we've lost. She looked at my wife last week. My wife was getting her ready for school. And a 5-year-old little girl says to her grandmother, I would give anything to see Mommy just one more day. A 5-year-old little girl just wanted to see her mom one more day. Come on. That should never be a request of a child, to see their mom one more day, a mom that she's never going to see again. That is an atrocity. Let's not let this happen anymore. We all make mistakes in our lives. We all have regrets. The biggest regret that I have today is that that little girl cannot see her mom one more day. Don't ever have to look into your family's eyes, a family member's eyes, and see what I've seen. Don't ever have to wake up with your wife crying in the middle of the night. Don't ever have to wake up with a little girl having nightmares. Please, let's not let this happen anymore. Support all of the agencies that you can. Get tough on your children. Hold those people responsible. If you honestly believe that you can hug this away, if you honestly believe that it's going to be okay, it's not. It's not going to be okay, and you're not going to hug this away. You're going to have to fight hard. You're going to have to fight together. It's real easy to say, okay, next week. It's really easy to say, okay, next time. Our children have been in and out of rehabilitation centers a number of times. Do you want to know what, in my opinion, is the worst thing about getting out of those? And I don't even want to go about how I feel about some of those places I visited. Do you want to know what concerns me the most? You hear a lot, well, you have to send them away so that they can get better. You have to send them somewhere else. Because if they come back here, they're going to use again. All the triggers, all the connections, all the social peers and groups that they were part of is still here. You want to know how your family member is going to be able to be healthy again? Stop what's going on. Clean up what is here. Fix it here so that they can come home, be with their family, and get healthy. If you want to fix something, you better fix it here. Because if you send them somewhere else, it's more than likely they're going to run into it there. So we have to fix it here. We have to provide our family members with a safe community, a safe home, and a safe atmosphere so that they can succeed at whatever it is they need to succeed at. And we don't have that anymore. We don't. I've walked around this town. I visited 19 or 20 businesses in the last couple of weeks. And I was surprised at how closed off we have become. We've closed our minds and we've closed our hearts. And our children are paying for it. So let's not close our minds. Let's not close our hearts. Let's not lose any more children. And let's not raise or have to raise any more grandchildren. Moms and dads should raise their children, not grandparents. Today, more grandparents are raising their children than any other time in history. And there's been a lot of wars. I just told you that in a 2-year period, 130,000 people have died. Vietnam lasted 12 years. I'm a child of the Vietnam era, and only 58,000 people died in 12 years, and those people were being shot at, bombed, you know, the atrocities of war. If you don't think that what is happening today isn't a threat, this is the biggest terrorist threat to our community that can ever happen. Whatever you watch on TV, it don't get worse than this. There's no horror story. There's nothing that you're going to experience that's going to be worse than this. I looked in Brandy's eyes, and I saw the worst thing that I could ever see. For the first time in my life, I actually felt helpless. That's what this does. That's what it's doing to your family members out there right now. Be strong. Reach out to each other. Be neighborly. Love each other. Support everything that you can. And let's do this together. You wonderful people came here tonight. Let's do this all the time. I'm not sure what else I can say or what else I can do. But I know that if we don't fix this, There's going to be 100 more of these in the next few years, and people are going to be asking the same thing. How about we stop this? How about I don't have to stand up here and talk to you? How about instead of this, we're enjoying events that are going on in our community? How about we're enjoying our children and we're enjoying our grandchildren? How about we don't ever have to stand here and talk about this again? You have to demand more. It's amazing how a couple of the young people that I took to the police station, I grew up here, took up to the police station, showed me. I asked them, I said, I want you to show me the known places where you can buy drugs in this town. I actually did that. Right down there on Atkinson Street, on the corner by the old YMCA building. My mother lives a couple of houses from there. We took a ride. In 10 minutes, two of us could walk from that corner in 10 minutes in any direction and be at a dozen known places where you can buy drugs, a dozen known homes where you can buy drugs in this town. This is our town, and this is what's going on. From one street corner, a 10-minute walk in any direction, and you can buy drugs very easily. And we know that it's going on. We do. We see it. I know a few of those places. I knew they existed. What have I done about it? Nothing. You ignore it. Again, you build walls. You say, oh, well, it's not going to affect me. The hell it ain't. It's going to get you. You build walls because it has affected you. There's really good people in the community that build walls around themselves because they don't want it to affect you. But because all of that, here we stand in a town that I grew up with, and if you would have told me 35 years ago, 40 years ago that I'd be doing this today, I would have told you you're right out of your mind. But here we are, because we built walls, because we're not talking, and we are not taking care of each other and holding those people involved in this responsible. So support your local police departments, support all of these wonderful organizations that are here trying to help people, but we gotta do it together. We gotta travel together. So I went up to the State House in Montpelier last Wednesday, and I saw some really good stories out there. There were some pretty incredible people. There was a young lady from the Brattleboro Turning Point. Where is she? Yeah, I heard your story. Good for you, sweetheart. That's awesome. This young lady right here, Brandy, that has done this slideshow and helped us through a pretty hard time, is in recovery herself. There's people out there that can make it. But what they've realized is they can't make it alone. They didn't make it without the police department. They didn't make it without the rehabilitation or the recovery facilities. They made it because a group of people stood together and helped them. So let's help some more people make it. It can happen. But let's do it, and let's do it now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard. We're going to have a panel now. So we're going to start with a panel now, and I apologize that I know some people's names and I don't know others, but basically we're going to go from right to left, and thank you, Richard. That was wonderful. And this is Amanda. She's a family member, and I'll let her introduce herself and tell her story.
Thank you. I'm Amanda, and I'm a recovering addict. You know, sorry, I have a fear of public speaking. Thank you, Brandy. And yeah, Brandy is actually my recovery coach. So she's one of the people that has really made a big impact on my life. I've struggled with my addiction since I was about 12 years old. I had some traumatic events happen in my early childhood, and you know, I started drinking when I was really young. I had actually tried opiates before I had ever even tried smoking cigarettes or smoking marijuana. You know, that's the first thing I tried, and it's the first thing I loved because it was the only thing that could numb all the pain and the memories and flashbacks that I had. You know, so first it started socially. I had a friend who had an older sister, and, you know, her and her friends were doing it, so, you know, we decided we wanted to join them and do it too. You know, and then it became something, it seems like once I tried it the first time, I saw it everywhere. It was so easy to get. I was buying and doing it in school. You know, I can remember sitting in the back of a classroom with a substitute teacher and drinking and popping pills. You know, and that scares me today. I am a mom, and I would hate to think that, you know, the school that my kids go to, that, you know, the drugs and stuff are that accessible. You know, I got into a lot of trouble in school. I did good grade-wise, which was kind of what made my mom mad because she always said I had so much potential. I just didn't do anything with it. You know, for the most part, I had a great childhood. And that's part of the stigma that kind of makes me mad because people always assume that because you're an addict, that you had a bad childhood or you had an abusive family. And, you know, that wasn't the case. I had a great childhood. My parents were great. I have 3 younger siblings, and none of them are addicts or alcoholics. You know, I just went through some things in early childhood that had nothing to do with my family, and they had a big impact on me. You know, like Richard has said, you know, my mom and dad stuck by me through 8 rehabs, I believe. You know, they wouldn't support me when I was using. They were very good at not enabling me. You know, if I wanted to come over and get something to eat or something, then I was more than welcome to do that. But they weren't going to hand me money. They weren't, you know, they knew what I was going to do with it. But anytime I asked for help because I wanted to actually do better, my parents were right there. You know, and I can't even count how many times my mom would call me crying because she was afraid that it was going to be the last time she was going to get to talk to me. Sorry. You know, it's been a long and hard battle. I just turned 30. Thank you. So, you know, it's been 18 or so years that I've been using, and finally, you know, I got pregnant with my youngest daughter, who's actually sitting over there, and I was in a program through the Brattleboro Retreat, the maintenance program, and one of the big issues that I had was with the Medicaid rides, because I didn't have my license at the time. You know, I had been in and out of jail, and so I counted on the Medicaid rides to bring me to my treatment program. And being pregnant, I couldn't just skip a day without going. I had wanted to completely get off Suboxone, but being pregnant, they said it was better to switch to Subutex and stay on it until after you have the baby, because they don't want to put a pregnant woman through any sort of detox whatsoever. Well, the Medicaid rides would not show up for 2-3 days at a time. So I ended up actually getting kicked out of my program because I missed too many consecutive days. And so I had to resort to buying it on the street, and it is so hard and so expensive to actually buy Subutex on the street because, you know, it's really only given to pregnant women. So when I had Remy, because I wasn't in a program legally, which I was actually going to be, but I had an emergency C-section the day before I was supposed to start my program. DCF actually took her. Sorry.
It's okay.
You know, and that's what really made me change my whole outlook and everything I did. My husband and I, we met with DCF, and, you know, I went through postpartum depression, but when I had met with DCF, I told them, you know, we were willing to do whatever we had to do. And we were going to look at it as an opportunity, and we were going to take every kind of help and every benefit that they would give us. And we actually ended up, we no longer have a case with DCF. Our case is closed, and we actually got it closed 3 months early because we did everything they asked us to do. And not only that, but my husband and I went above and beyond what they asked us to do. You know, this was our daughter. You know, we needed her with us. She needed to be with us. You know, so she's the one who really, sorry, pardon my French, but kicked my ass into shape. I wasn't willing to lose her, you know, for the rest of my life. I have 2 older daughters who, my oldest is with my mom, and my middle daughter is part-time with her dad right now. But I have custody of both of them, and they actually will be back with my husband and I very soon. My oldest daughter, she has separation anxiety, so we kind of have to take it slow. But, you know, making my sobriety date is actually the day of her birthday, and making that decision has improved my life in so many ways. You know, I got connected with Turning Point again, which I'd been in and out before, but I never really stuck to any program. I started going to meetings, NA and AA. I got a sponsor. I went to Turning Point, and I got a recovery coach. I kind of had to isolate myself from anything, people, places, and things that I used to, you know, do drugs with or illegal activity, whatever it was. I had to change my life completely. And I was scared because, you know, I didn't know how to live without using some kind of a substance. But I've never been happier. You know, I just got married in August. My husband, his sobriety date is actually 2 days after mine. He went into treatment while I was actually still in the hospital with Remy. And, you know, we do go to the Brattleboro retreat. We are on the maintenance program, and we're actually going to be tapering off. My husband's already started tapering because we don't want to be on a substance for the rest of our lives. But it honestly has saved our life. You know, I'm actually in college full time, and my average right now is a 98. And I'm taking psychology, sociology, human services, and I want to work with alcoholics and addicts because I've been there. I know what they're going through, and I really think that I can help. I want to help them to succeed in recovery like I have. You know, so many things are going good, but that doesn't mean I don't struggle just the same every day. But now it has gotten easier. I have more to look forward to. You know, like doing things like these. I never would have done this before. I'm terrified of speaking. And if it wasn't for Brandy, I probably wouldn't have done it. But yeah, I just want to thank you all for listening.
When I was a kid, I felt positive about the world. I don't feel that way anymore, but I do remember one time when we went to Universal Studios. That was my best childhood memory. One thing I want you to know is that my mom, no matter what, even when she was at her worst, was still there for us. But my mom, she hid her addiction so well I didn't even know. I did notice that my mom changed. She had a new boyfriend who also used. He beat her and hit us. But she pretended it wasn't happening. She hid the bruises and made excuses when he hit us. I remember thinking that my mom seemed so scared all the time. She was afraid of her new boyfriend and afraid about getting caught with drugs. The boyfriend sold all my games, other things went missing. At one point, things got so bad with him we lost our housing. I had to do everything for my brothers and sisters. We didn't have any routines. My mom was very unpredictable when it came to meals. Depression hit me hard. I learned to put up a lot of walls. They're still up. I'm trying to break them down. It's better now. My mom's in recovery. 2 years. Now she sees us as much as she can. She is honest with me now, no lying. She actually talks to me. She's doing things for herself, getting safe housing, a job. She's happier now and healthier and has healthier relationships. I will never give up on her. I have more respect for her because she makes better choices. This is not my story. This is a local youth who has a mother who struggles with addiction, and I'm privileged enough to say that I've never had to experience this. But I think that it sucks that I do have to hear these stories, and that I am in a community where I constantly hear kids coming to me about how their mom's boyfriend is using and lashes out at their mom too much, or, you know, that my friend locally has to drive their parents to go get alcohol because they're too intoxicated to drive themselves. And I really at this point just want to change.
Thank you, Kira. My name's Deb Whitkus. I work with Greater Falls Connections, and I'm going to share my personal story, which I usually don't do. But I got into prevention for a reason. I'm so moved by your stories, by the way. I got into prevention for a really good reason, because I have so much addiction in my family. And I love my family so much. Thank you. So I'm pretty passionate about prevention. And I became a mom 29 years ago. And I didn't want to repeat the cycle. It didn't start off so good because I fell in love with an abusive alcoholic who I wanted to save. Fortunately for me, I realized that he would just bring chaos to our lives because he was not in recovery and he was nowhere headed in that direction. So I was basically going to be raising her on my own. An only child with a dad who had come out of incarceration and had addiction. And I had it in my family as well. And I made it my job to figure out whatever I could do to break the cycle. And the first thing I did is starting with acknowledging that it's there. She's different than other kids. Not all kids have the same, are bringing the same stories. And she had a genetic predisposition, and she was surrounded by it in our family. I can remember my first conversation with her. I knew, oh, the first thing I got to do is like just have conversations. They have to be age appropriate. So the first conversation came up when she was probably about 4 or 5. And she said, "Mom, why don't I have a dad? Why is my daddy here?" And I said, "It's not because he doesn't love you. It's because he has a disease called addiction. And addiction, when people have a lot of pain in their hearts, they can't fulfill their dreams. And I know it's his dream to be your dad, but he has this disease." And so I felt really good about that because it was honest. And gosh, this stuff is coming up. I had no idea it was still stuck in there. It was honest, and it was just the beginning of many conversations that I had to have with her. And as I believe in prevention, because my daughter, you know, she has wound up not having an addiction because I learned what her risk factors are. You know, she's got it in her genes, she's got it in her family. When she was a tween, I learned that, oh, you know, this for girls in between the ages of 12 and 13, this is when they're actually most at risk from developmentally. Rein her in at that time. Don't give her freedom, but not too much. Her friends who got just like to run around, and their parents were really great parents, but they didn't realize that they were, you know, at risk at 12 and 13. Her friends started using early because they had so much freedom, because their parents didn't understand. That was actually a high-risk time for teen girls. And when she was getting bullied, which is another risk factor, I got really proactive. And when the school was not responding in the way that I needed them to, I got organized with other parents, and I said, we went and we met with the principal, and we said, we need more from you. We need you to take this seriously. And then finally, she hit the teen years. You know, that's a time of great risk for teens, and I knew she would be at risk for addiction. We had conflict. I was a single mom raising a kid all by myself. And so I worked really hard on trying to be a better communicator. I worked, no matter how many fights we had or how ugly it got, every single night I went to bed, whether she was mad as hell, and I said, "I love you. I love you more than chocolate." That's our thing. Anyhow, but I took the fact that she was at risk very seriously, and I told her, you know what, your friends may experiment or use, but it's going to be different for you. In our family, we can't just pick up a drink or a drug. And she took that to heart, and she, you know, there were times when her friends, you know, were really starting to use, and I started reining her in, and I started saying, you know what, I know this is what's happening at those parties. I'm sorry, but you need to come home. And the last thing I want to share is when, you know, when she's having a lot of access to stuff. The other thing I did is, like Rich said, you know, you can't hug your way out of this. Before it became a problem, I set boundaries and limits. She needed it. Our kids want us to set more boundaries and limits. And then finally, the only other thing that I did that really helped is I started talking to other parents. And when their kids were struggling, I thought I was alone. It was like, my kid hates me. You know, there's all this stuff going on. She's really struggling with stress and everything. I opened up, and other parents, their walls started to go down. And we started talking to each other before they developed a problem. And we got help. We asked the schools, hey, our girls are struggling with anxiety and depression. Some of our kids are cutting. Please help us. And the school worked with us. And I think that was the most important thing as a parent, is admitting to other parents, we were struggling. You know, my daughter hated my guts. She respects me now, though. But finding other parents who are going through it and struggling to keep their kid making healthy choices is the most powerful thing we can do, is breaking down those walls and asking for help. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. My name's Michael Malik, and I work for the Greater Falls Justice Program here in Bellows Falls. And in the outline, we serve the outlying area as well as all the folks in Bellows Falls. And first off, I'm grateful that all you people came out tonight to hear about this opiate crisis. And I think it's really shows great concern, and we're trying to grasp community, and that's very important. And I want to thank Rick for sharing his story, and I agree with him. This is a community issue where we all have to work together. And I'm grateful for what I get a chance to do every day, because I live in this community. I've lived in this community for a lot of years, and I've kind of grown into this job. I'm old enough, maybe I grew into something finally. Anyway, I'm grateful for my experiences I have. I can drive down the street and I can see my clients. The Community Justice Center is open, it has an open door for anybody that wants to talk about any kind of problems. We'll refer you out to all the folks that we work with, all the great providers that we have in this community. And we do have a lot of good clinicians, and we've got to help, some help anyway. We can always use more help. And we have to, so the Greater Falls Community Justice Center works with all these clinicians. We work with the police, we work with corrections, and I particularly work with a population of folks that are just come out of jail, and they have the same struggles as everybody else has, but they've been incarcerated for a long period of time, so that's my specialty. And most of my folks have addiction issues. And it's just, I really feel strongly about what I do. And a community survives by being a community and being together, and by taking care of those people that need help. People don't need more shame, they need more help. They don't need more criticism when they know they're doing bad, they need help. And we're grateful to have the connections people. We're out of Parks Place, and I feel I've worked with Deb and her folks that she works with, and we're just another arm of what they do in a lot of ways. And it's important for me tonight to let the community know that you can always talk to us, and if we don't know the answer, there's plenty of things we don't know. We'll help you find the answer. We're not going to turn you away because you're not an appropriate referral. We may give you to somebody else, but we'll be glad to field any concerns you have. And like Rick, I really agree with what he said about be nice to people. Say something nice to somebody. I have great clients. Most of them have done time. You know, they're all decent people. You know, good people do bad things all the time. Doesn't make them bad. You don't define people by their addiction or by their worst step they made. You know, you look them in the eye and you treat them like you want to be treated. It's a corny phrase, but it works. And this is what we're very proud at the Justice Center, and we're growing now. It took a long time. We've been around for about 7 or 8 years, but I think we're in the process of moving forward, and thank you for listening to me.
A round of applause for the whole panel. They have great stories. At this point in time, we had planned on doing questions and answers, but we are so far behind schedule right now that it's unbelievable. So I want to give the people that are on this side who really are working to help people in the community, and I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves and tell what they do and ask for your help. So who's going to go first? Oh, Laura, I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Laura Sherbaum. I'm the director of Greater Falls Connections. We are a community coalition working within Wyndham Northeast Communities that is really working to support youth and families through connecting our community. So we have a mission to work across the community to ensure that we're all working together so that we can go from problems to solutions. And it's the honor of my life to be here and to work with all these people and to see all of you here tonight. So one of the things that within prevention we really are emphasizing more and more is this idea of assets and what we can do so that the next generation we can ensure that the next generation is getting what they need in order to be healthy, to feel supported. And one of these things that we have understanding of is called the developmental assets. There's this group in Minnesota that has done a lot of research around what kids need to be healthy, to feel supported, in order to grow and be able to make decisions for themselves that will get them to their goal and their ultimate vision for their lives. So we have some information that will be available around the developmental assets, and I encourage you to learn more about this framework and what can be done to support youth. And we also have almost 15 agencies here tonight that are doing those things in the community, that are providing supports and opportunities for community members to get involved, to support youth, to support people who are coming out of treatment and recovery and looking for that community, looking for that place that they can feel like they belong. So how this is going to work is we've asked folks to come and prepare a very short pitch so that you all can know what's going on in your community and get involved. So let me just get the list of folks that are here tonight, and we're going to start off with Greater Falls Connections. So we're going to talk about who you are, why what you do is special, and how people can help or get connected. And I'll also say all these agencies have tables in the lobby in the back, which you'll be able to join and have conversations after our discussion tonight. So first up is Deb Whitkus from Greater Falls Connections. And Scott, if he's able to run down.
Where are you? Scott, the other member of our superhero team, he's up in the tech booth up there, which is no surprise because he's a tech wizard. Scott, anyway, you can come on down. I can't see. Is he coming? Okay, I'll start. So we are Greater Falls Connections, and we are funded to make a difference in your community. I've been with the organization for 8 years, and we love it here. We think you have amazing families. We see the power in the beauty that you guys have, that you possess. One thing that we do is we have parent education classes. We have a sign-up form out in the hallway. We have youth empowerment groups. That's our ATI group, if you want to get your kids involved with that. We have support groups. We bring education and awareness to the community. But fundamentally, we believe that the opposite of addiction is connection. We're here to help support everybody in getting connected. So as Rich says, we can do this together. Scott? Come on over. Scott's just going to briefly talk about our organization too.
Well, at Greater Falls Connections, I'm Scott Charlin, by the way. At Greater Falls Connections, I'm the one that works on the media, including this presentation you saw tonight, and Brandy helped put it together with Richard's photos. I also do the tobacco prevention. That includes tobacco cessation, so if you know anyone who's interested in quitting smoking, you can send them my way. and we'll hook people up with resources. One thing we did do, I wanted to mention, is we started a Facebook group called Importance of Hope. So the idea is that we can follow up on everything we're doing tonight and be able to ask questions. And I was just about to talk to Mike Smith and suggest that if you had questions for the panel, you could post them onto this group, and we can answer them there for you. And that way, you still get that chance to get your questions answered. So, I'm Scott. Thank you.
Next is Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Vermont. Are they still here? All right, come on up. Make your pitch. What do you do? Why do we love you?
Hi there, I'm short. I'm Kimberly Diamond, the Executive Director of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Vermont. We were formerly known as Big Brothers Big Sisters of Windham County, so we've been in this community since 1975. We provide high-quality mentoring services for children aged 6 through 18, so we consider ourselves a preventative program. And the two things that I would want you to take away tonight about mentoring is it provides connection and opportunity. And like Deb was saying, that connection is one of the anti-drug to the drug addiction problem that we have in this community and all throughout the country. So we have community-based mentoring and site-based mentoring, and what we really need from communities to make this program work and to reach as many children as possible is volunteer mentors. That's the heart of our program, are folks like you that want to be a part of your community and you want to provide connection and opportunity for local youth. So thank you.
Next is Friends for Change Youth Club of Bellows Falls, Haley Galanek Cochran.
Hi guys, I'm tall. And my name is Haley. Unlike all these lovely people who already spoke, I am by no means a professional. I'm just somebody who gives a shit about our community. And I care about our kids. And so I'm with Friends for Change. We're a new youth club in Bellows Falls. We were born out of the Boys and Girls Club that was defunded. I was working there when we were defunded, and I thought, I can't let that happen. So the Boys and Girls Club was a really important place for some of the most vulnerable youth in our community, and I just decided, how hard could it be to start a youth club? And so that was 2 years ago, and now we are way more official than I'm sounding right now. We have a board, we've got a lot of really active, amazing people involved. We're still 100% volunteer run, so if you're interested in providing a compassionate and being a part of our mission and providing a compassionate space, a space that doesn't judge, that doesn't give pity, then come on down, you can speak to me. We're always looking for volunteers who want to come and share a skill or get involved. I wrote a little something that I might want to say now. A little nervous if you can't notice, but I'm here representing the youth of Bellows Falls. Youth whose lives have been touched by addiction, poverty, abuse, and trauma. But more importantly, I'm here representing some of the most resilient and powerful, amazing youth in our community. Youth who rise above, youth who are artists and boxers and photographers and DJs and videographers. Some of them are here tonight. And youth who are strong friends who are there for each other. And if you want to be a part in that, and if you want your life to be touched the way my life has been by these amazing youth, come see me afterwards and we can make that happen.
Next is Youth Services of Windham County, which Deb Whitkiss is going to speak on behalf of them.
Youth Services is amazing. They're housed in Parks Place. They have so many programs and they support so many youth. They have case management services. They have youth diversion program. They have a transitional housing program. They have the most awesome moms group, Just Us Moms. They meet once a month on Tuesday evenings at up at the SU. They're always looking for volunteers. If you want to be a mentor to a mom, or if you are a mom and you want to join them, they have a lot of fun, and they bring other organizations from the community to share resources and stories and to inspire. We're so lucky to have them here in the community because they are amazing advocates for the folks whose lives they are seriously changing. So, yeah, they will be here. Go to their table, get involved.
Meeting Waters YMCA was going to try to come tonight. I just want to check if they're here yet. No? Meeting Waters YMCA manages many of the after-school programs in many of the local schools, and I'm happy to say that they have full enrollment in Bellows Falls, which is great, and they may be coming later to offer what people can do to support them, either through donations or financial resources or mentoring in their program. The next up is Our Place Drop-In Center.
Hi, I'm Lisa Pitcher. I'm the director at Our Place Drop-In Center, and we work with all of the people that have spoken tonight and a lot more. And we're really happy to be part of this community. And so I was looking at the sheet that's here, and after our name had prevention and recovery, and I guess that came out of the conversation I had with Deb when I talked about what I was going to say, and quite honestly, I can't remember what I said to you.
Me neither.
But so here's kind of my spiel. We know that reducing stress for families and trauma in children leads them to be more resilient and stronger and be able to handle adversity. So imagine not being able to give food to your children or enough food for your children. Or imagine being a child that doesn't necessarily know if they're going to eat dinner that night. That's really hard. And if it happens over a long enough period of time, it can be damaging to kids. So at our place, the main core of our work is making sure that families don't have to make those choices. That if they, for some reason, don't have enough money that month, or something happens, they lose a job, or just, life happens, that if they don't have enough access, they don't have enough food at home, they can come to us, they can get food, good food, and take it home and feed it for their children. We have elderly people that come to us that just don't have enough money. So it's really the gamut of the community that we serve. You'd be surprised. 97% of the people we serve have homes. There's a very small amount of people that don't, that use our services. So people are getting good, wholesome food. They also can come and eat with us. And we found over the years that sometimes when people are having particularly difficult times, they've lost a job or they're in transition, that space where they can come and have a hot meal and talk to each other and maybe ask for other kinds of help is really beneficial. We've worked a lot with people that Mike works with, and coming right out of jail, people don't have any idea of how to put things back together. We offer them food, but we also offer them a place to make other connections. And whether we're connecting them to people that are professionals in recovery or just making a new friend, that's a large part of what we're doing in the community. So my ask of everybody here is not for volunteers or that sort of thing. We're really lucky. We do have a good community of volunteers. I want you to reach out to people that might be struggling with food and let them know about us. We're open Monday through Friday. That's very unusual for a food pantry in Vermont. We're open Monday through Friday. Somebody's there to help in the food pantry from 9 until 4 every day, Monday through Friday. And then we serve breakfast and lunch. And we serve about 1,000 meals a month. That's down from our high. It used to be about 1,500 meals a month, which is probably a good thing that we're not serving as many. But so tell people about our lunch. It's 11:30 to 12:30. We have a professional chef. This is not just thrown together food. This is really good food. So, and breakfast starts at 8:30 to 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So let people in the community that might be struggling, tell them to come. If they just want to walk in the front of the house and get vegetables and yogurt and whatever, they can do that as a start. So we're really very welcoming and accommodating. So anyway, that's my pitch. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have prevention, treatment, and recovery resources here. So the next couple folks will be talking about treatment resources in our community. And first up for that is healthcare and rehabilitation services.
Hi, I'm Ingrid Sell, and I'm the adult outpatient mental health and substance abuse therapist. HCRS, which is what most people know it as, the full name is Healthcare and Rehabilitation Services of Southeastern Vermont, so you can see why most of us know it as HCRS. We are a comprehensive mental health agency serving all of Windham and Windsor counties. So our services are pretty broad. We have services for children, mental health services, full spectrum of addiction services, crisis. But anyhow, what I wanted to actually focus on, our main office is in Springfield, but we have offices in Brattleboro and Hartford and a small outpost here in Bellows Falls. Also developmental services, which is most of the office here, and I also work out of this office 3 days a week, providing mental health and substance abuse services for adults. So just to point out some of the things that are a little bit more relevant to what we're talking about tonight, we do have an intensive outpatient group that is in Springfield. It's 9 hours a week, 3 hours, three times in the week. It's for people in early recovery, so it's like a really intense focus on working on those early recovery skills, relapse prevention, dealing with emotions, all the things that are really challenging in early recovery. And that is in our Springfield office. Here in Bellows Falls, I offer primarily individual therapy for people with mental health and/or substance abuse. We also have a walk-in clinic here. That is on Tuesday afternoons from 1 to 3. That's a place for like initial screening, but also if it's something that you just feel like you might need to talk to somebody, just briefly, like 1 or 2 sessions, we do get some town funding for that, so that is also something that is available to us here. We do have walk-in clinic hours in Brattleboro and Springfield as well. So we have an access number now, which is a fairly new thing, so I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can find it up at the desk up front, where if you're looking for services, even just want to talk about what might be helpful to you, that would be a good number to call. Also, if you're experiencing any kind of a crisis or dealing with somebody who is in a mental health or substance abuse crisis, the number for that is 1-800-622-4235. Also will be available at the table out back. That's in general through both of the counties. But also, I did want to also say that those of you who are family members or loved ones of somebody dealing with addiction issues, not to discount what it is that you're going through, because this is something that we could help you with as well. And consider maybe giving us a call and seeing what we could do for you, what we could connect you with.
So I'm also aware of the time, so I want to make sure that we get through the next few speakers quickly, and so we can all gather and connect in our lobby in the back. The next folks are from the Springfield Medical Care System.
Hi, Hi, my name is Lindsay Mack. I am kind of an interesting person to be speaking on behalf of Springfield Medical Care Systems. I also work at HCRS as an HCRS employee, but they have contracted me a position through the Community Health Team, which is part of Springfield Medical Care Systems, or SMCS, which is a little easier, kind of like the HCRS acronym. So SMCS offers an array of services for people in recovery, people with mental health services. They're more than just a primary care facility, but they also do that as well, and they have a walk-in clinic. Springfield Medical Care System also offers medically assisted treatment, and those are all accessible through, I guess you would have to call somebody through the community health team can help connect you to a primary care provider who can give you a referral for those services. We're happy to work with anybody from anywhere, from Springfield to Chester to Charlestown, Bellows Falls, Rockingham Medical Center over here is part of SMCS. And I think if you're interested in learning more about any of the services that might be available, you can always call the community health team. Their number is 802-886-8998, and anybody that answers that phone will be happy to tell you more about the services that are available. We also offer wellness classes and things like that that aren't really necessarily medical in nature, but they help support good medical care. And I will end there, but if you have any other questions, feel free to call us.
Next up is
Hi, I'm Michelle Tavares. I'm the director of the Wyndham Center. We're a 10-bed psychiatric inpatient unit right here in Bellows Falls. Our primary purpose is to serve the mentally ill who need inpatient hospitalization. The reality is many people who come to us are also abusing substances or having addiction problems, so we are fully able to deal with helping people who have addictions if they are coming to us for psychiatric inpatient hospitalization. So my ask of you is this. Oftentimes people are afraid to seek treatment that they need. I ask you to help by fighting in your own personal worlds against stigma against mental illness and addiction. People who need help don't get help because they're ashamed. People who are ashamed often are ashamed because they hear social messages about that are negative about mental illness and addiction. When you put down someone for showing signs and symptoms of mental illness or addiction, you make it so that everyone around you who hears that thinks that people who are addicted or who have mental illness are less human. So I'm asking you, please be aware of what you're saying and know the harm that you can do when you say things that put people down. And if you see other people doing that, please educate them. If you do that, by doing this, you can help make this community a place where people aren't afraid to get the help they need. Thank you.
Next up is the Opioid Coordination Council.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Sigsbury. I was appointed in July of this year to the Governor's Opiate Council. First of all, I want to thank all these brave people for telling their stories. That's really hard. I had to do that myself once. Not only, am I here to represent the council today, I'm in personal long-term recovery, and I'm the only active member on the Opiate Council that is an opiate addict. So I first had heard of the Opiate Council being formed back early on during the year, and found out there was really no representation, from southern Vermont. So I got a hold of my local representatives, our state senators from Bennington County, and our reps. And I really, raised some cane with them. I was very angry. Not only did they not have any representation from southern Vermont, but, you know, they didn't have any real addicts on the council. And believe me, we understand as addicts, especially opiate addicts, what this epidemic is all about. So there's a voice there, you know, on the council, in me. If anyone ever wants to get a hold of me, you know, hear voices spoken within this council, I'm free. You know, my cards are up there. Not only am I on the council, I'm also the executive director at the Turning Point Recovery Center in Bennington. I'm also on the executive committee of the Alliance for Community Transformations in Bennington, which is a prevention group. I understand that the only way we're going to deal with this issue is if prevention, recovery, treatment, and enforcement work together to solve it. We can't do it on our own. And believe me, being a peer, I understand the passion that comes with addiction. So as far as I'm concerned, recovery is the solution, you know? And number one, if we need recovery housing in all our communities, and we need to get people into treatment immediately, not in 1 to 2 weeks. So that's the only way this is going to work. So if you really want to do something, get a hold of your state representatives and senators and let your voice be heard that this has to happen, because I had to fight my way onto the council, and the only way we're going to make our voices heard is through our representation in the state. Thank you.
Thank you, great. And next up is our very own Turning Point Recovery Center of Springfield. I think that's Mike. Okay.
Well, everybody's heard a lot here tonight, and I'm going to make this short, but my name's Mike, and I'm also still in recovery. Yeah. So anyway, I run the Turning Point Recovery Center in Springfield, and also trying to bring those services to Bellows Falls. And one of the things is, and recovery is an ongoing process. You know, we have prevention, treatment, and recovery. And it's a lifelong process, you know, and it's a journey. We get people come out of treatment. I came out of treatment several times over my life. And when I came out of treatment this last time, it was like embracing what change is, you know, and that's, someone said earlier, people, places, and things. And when that happens, a journey begins, but you need to use the resources that you have. And we have some great resources and people. We have people in the community that can help us. Our recovery centers offer many programs, recovery coaching. We have a transition house at our center, but we also have a family group, which is dynamic, which we're going to be trying to bring to Bellows Falls on March 7th at Parks Place. But there are opportunities for recovery. Recovery can happen for anyone. The only thing I can't give somebody for recovery is willingness. But if they're willing to recover and want to change their lives, our doors are open, and all our information is up there, and we'll let us move on. All right, but thank you, everybody, for coming tonight.
Next up is the Greater Falls Community Justice Center.
I also want to thank you for your courage to speak tonight. And I can imagine that even if one person's heart was moved by what you said, then your job was well done. So, Richard, you go by Rick? Richard. So Richard said earlier that when he grew up in Bellows Falls, everyone looked out for each other. And when he got in trouble, he got his butt kicked by his neighbors. And that's kind of what we do. We're the Community Justice Center. We do a little butt kicking. We call it accountability. But we also do a lot of support. So we have 3 staff members and 25 volunteers. So we're run by volunteers, community members like you, who sit in a circle, and when someone gets in trouble, they come and sit with us, ordinary folks like you. And we help with the butt kicking. the accountability. What are you going to do to make amends? How are you going to apologize? Who did you hurt? How did you hurt yourself? What do you want to do to make some changes? But we also do the support part, which is what got you here. We care. We know there's a story, and we want to hear the story. So we need volunteers. We need you to sign up. We have a sign-up sheet out there. You can sit once a month in a circle with some folks that have been in trouble. You can sit once a week with some folks who've just gotten out of prison or jail and help them get back on their feet. We'll take you any way you want to come. So come meet me out there. I'm Susie Bellacci. I'm the director of the Restorative Justice Center. We also call it the Community Justice Center. And I have the honor and privilege to work with Mike Malick.
We have the representative of the Vermont Recovery Network that is going to say a few things about their group.
I'll make this really brief, but we are a statewide organization, and there are 12 recovery centers across Vermont that are available to everybody. The one pitch I think I want to say, because I could go on about our programs, but we have these flyers in the back too on the table, is that we need recovery coaches from everybody. Anybody who's in recovery who wants to give back, that's something that the recovery centers really, really need. And all ages, male, female. And if you need a recovery coach, contact your recovery center. Mike is right over there. So thank you very much.
And next is a representative from the Guardian Ad Litem program. And we have one more after this.
Hi, I'm Mimi Morton, and I've been a guardian ad litem for about a year. I'm here pitching for anybody who wants a fabulous volunteer job to become a guardian ad litem. Basically, what you are is a support for a child who is in the family court system. You are the eyes and ears of the judge. You advocate for what's in the best interests of the child. It blows my mind how little time lawyers and social workers and judges and all the people who are in the family court system have, how little time they have to get up to speed on the cases. And I'm sure anybody who's been through the family court system here knows that. And what guardians do is they help to be sure that everybody in contact with the child is doing their job, that the child's getting everything that they need, that the system is moving as smoothly as possible, and God knows that's not easy. But it's a wonderful, wonderful volunteer position. We have 30 guardian ad litem in Windham County, and they're great people. I will have more information on what we do and the phone number to get involved. There's no age cutoff. There are a lot of elderly people who do this work. You need about 10 hours a month, I would say. As I think I said, it's the best job I've ever had. And we're having a training in March, so I'll be out in the lobby.
And our last and definitely not least is Lindsay's going to come back and talk about the ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences Action Group, and some of the work they're doing in this area.
Hi again. So I facilitate a group, and we meet in Springfield, but we're interested in we're doing some work in the Bellows Falls area. We're working around adverse childhood experiences, and if you guys aren't familiar with that, there was a study that was done in the 90s, and what it showed seems like kind of common sense, but like if you're exposed to trauma, if you experience a lot of trauma over a long period of time in your childhood, that can have an impact on your health outcomes, so you're more likely to get things like cancer, colds, heart failure, all sorts of other diseases and things like that. So one of the things that our group is interested in doing is spreading some awareness around this idea that trauma is bad and it has this impact on your health later on in life. And then also talking to people about different things that they can do to kind of mitigate or some things they can do to stop those bad health outcomes from happening. So we call those things like protective factors. When we're talking about the 4 developmental assets, that's a program that's talking about different protective factors and ways to increase resiliency, to create a resilient community. So I think that's what kind of makes us special. And we're looking for people to join as well. And we meet the second Friday of every month at the Health Center in Springfield at 8:30 a.m. It's kind of early, but it's when we can get the most attendance, I think. Right now, we're currently working on a project to show a film called Resilience, and we want to show it here in Bellows Falls. We're also working on showing it up in Springfield. We applied for a grant through the Promise Communities, and they've given us some money so that we can actually kind of do something like that and hopefully provide something like childcare and some food and things like that so people can come and pay attention and watch the film. It talks about adverse childhood experiences and resiliency and different things that you can do in your own lives and lives of others around you. We have a Facebook page. It is Aces in Action, the Precision Valley, so you can look us up on Facebook. We also have a website. It's Aces in Action, the number 4 and the letter U.com. And I'm forgetting something else. I think that might be it. But if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing, if you guys want to become involved, you can check out our Facebook page. You can check out our website. Oh, we also have an app. Somebody was talking about doing something nice, like just smiling at people, and the app would be putting out challenges to people to do something throughout the week that can help to spread resilience and kindness to people around you. And also, if you're interested, you could call or email me. If you want that information, you can contact me after this. I'll be out in the lobby. Thanks.
Well, thanks, everyone. I want to give everyone a chance to go back and now that you've seen everything and heard everything, I know it's a lot of information that came really fast, and I want to give people a chance to go back and go to the tables and get more in-depth information. Please fill out your surveys and hand them in. If you had questions, please pass those in too. We're going to put those on this Facebook page. If you have other questions, please look for the Facebook page. It's going to be a forum that we want to carry things forward with. In addition, Brandy's going to be doing naloxone or Narcan training on the 2nd floor. So I don't know if you know how to get to the balcony, but if you're going to go to the balcony, she's going to be up there, and that takes another maybe 15 minutes. Yeah, so if you have questions that you'd like to ask to the panel, please feel free to come up and ask them now or go back and get some information. But thank you all for coming. Please get involved. Everyone can do something. I'm sorry, and as we leave tonight, we're going to be doing a candlelight vigil. So as you're filing out, grab your candles.